As highly sensitive and highly competent women entrepreneurs, we often feel the pressure to have everything figured out and perfectly polished before we put it out into the world. But the truth is, the desire for perfection is the very thing that's keeping us stuck. In fact, it's procrastination in disguise. Today, we're going to explore how embracing messiness can actually be the key to overcoming this procrastination and breaking free of perfectionism. We'll talk about why messy action is the most important action we can be taking, how it can open doors to breakthroughs, and why waiting for the perfect moment will only hold you back. So if you felt paralyzed by your own high standards or found yourself putting off important work because it's, quote, not ready yet, you are in the right place. Let's dive in and discover why letting it be messy might just be the most powerful thing you can do in service of you, your business, and your dreams today. Welcome to Herself, a space for women to have deep conversations about the intersection between spiritual entrepreneurship and fulfilling your potential, so you can become the woman you truly are in every area of your life. After being in business for over 2 decades, I've learned, as you likely have too, that as you grow your business grows you in unexpected, often challenging, yet miraculous ways. Here, we'll talk about how to get out of your own way so you can grow a business that's abundant and sustainable while allowing you to be a force for good in the world. I'll give you simple, actionable strategies as well as wisdom and inspiration to help you root into your wholeness, lead from your values, and work in ways that feel deeply aligned so you can bring your true self into the world through your business and in every area of your life. Hello, beautiful women. This weekend here in Boulder, it really feels like autumn is here. The temperatures have started to cool down quite a bit more. And I feel like this is really the first time in my life that I am genuinely excited for winter. And this is coming from someone who I moved to Thailand for 10 years in my 20s, and I was so happy to escape the winter. And I also loved living in California not too long ago and not having such pronounced seasons there. But now I'm really enjoying the 4 seasons, and I feel like it's part of my shift into a deeper stage of perimenopause where my body and my soul are just asking for different things. I'm wanting cooler temperatures, and I'm wanting more darkness to really tune into my psyche, to my soul, to my dreams even more. And it just feels like a really rich time. My wedding dress arrived last week. This is my dream wedding dress. I can't believe she's finally here in my possession. Although it won't be a while until I wear it. Our wedding isn't until next August. But it's, a lot of really, really wonderful things are happening. And if you're not signed up yet, I would love to see you at my free workshop that's happening in a few days this week on October 16th. It's called the Burnout Cure. I'm really looking forward to it. I have enjoyed putting it together, putting the lesson plans together, and I can guarantee you will hear some perspectives that you likely haven't heard before in other places, and it may help to give some extra inspiration and some new ideas for the way you are approaching self-care during this next season, whatever that looks like for you. Here in the US, you don't need me to tell you that there's less than a month until the election, and the energy is high out there. There's a lot of stimulation. We're all feeling a lot of exhaustion, a lot of overwhelm, anxiety. And I was talking to a colleague last week how this just really feels like it's a time in history when we're experiencing more stimulation than ever before. And our systems are working to process all of this. So this free workshop, we're not just talking about exhaustion and overwhelm, which again, we're all experiencing now at greater and greater levels, even when we do a lot of self-care. But we're also going to be exploring the core things that hold us back as women entrepreneurs from fully bringing our visions into the world. Now, I've been at this for a long time. I have worked with thousands and thousands of women, and I know from talking and working with so many of you how good we are at visioning. We love visioning. Give us a journal, give us a candle, some quiet time, even a retreat, and we can map out our big dreams. We can vision our hearts out. And when it comes to putting the rubber to the road, that's when we get stuck. It's in the implementation of building our visions that we freak out. We feel confused about how to even do that. We feel afraid of failing. We don't want to be judged or rejected. And we're afraid it will be too overwhelming. So that we won't be able to handle it once we do create it. So then what happens? We don't do it. Our vision just stays words somewhere in an old journal. And we focus on easier tasks like answering emails, just working with one-on-one clients, doing errands or tasks around the house, taking a new course. But let me remind you of one of my favorite sayings. And if you've been around here for a while, you have heard me say this before. And I first heard this from Tim Ferriss. I don't know where it originally comes from. It's easy choices, hard life. Hard choices, easy life. So let me say that again. Easy choices, hard life. Hard choices, easy life. I am here to support you in making those hard choices. Because it's through making those hard choices and in doing the hard things that come with that we create easier lives. And easier lives means that we're living the lives we're meant for. We're creating the lives that we see in our visions. Because the more aligned we are with who we are and what we're here to do, the more fulfilled we're going to be in our lives. And that's going to feel a lot easier than feeling like we're stuck in lives that we feel unfulfilled. And we know that we're avoiding the big stuff. So this is what I want for you. I want for you to be living the life that you are writing down in your journal, in your vision. So let's look at what's keeping you from doing that. Let's look at the places when you start to implement and you get stuck. One of the big places you're likely getting stuck is in your high standards. And do I ever know about high standards? I have very high standards. Just ask anyone on my team, ask my fiance, ask my mom, because she's known me my whole life. I have always been this way. I love excellence. I love beauty. I love integrity, impeccability. And I also deeply, deeply embrace my imperfections. I don't let my love of high standards keep me from just doing it, from just getting started. And not only that, but letting it be messy when I get started. And one of the practices I love that's been really supportive of me through my whole adult life comes from Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way. Now, I went through this for the first time when I was in college. I went through it chapter by chapter, step by step. And this is all about reviving our creative spirit. And one of the things that really, really dampens our creative spirit is perfectionism and our inner critic. So 2 of the core practices that she outlines in there, and in many of her subsequent books, are 1 daily morning pages and 2 weekly artist dates. So I'll briefly say weekly artist dates is just making a date with yourself once a week to go somewhere out of the ordinary. And it could actually be going to a museum, or it could be going on a new hiking trail that have never been on, or going to work in a coffee shop instead of working in your office, things like that. That's not what we're going to be talking about, but I love those artist dates as well. But we're going to be talking about morning pages. And these were transformational for me at that time as a college student, and have continued to be a staple, not only in my life, but also in my teachings. And if you've ever been on an in-person retreat with me, you are definitely familiar with morning pages, because this is something that we do every day. And it's one of the things that women report at the end of a retreat that they got some of their biggest breakthroughs from. Morning pages is writing 3 handwritten pages, ideally, although you can write it, you can use technology for it. I just find that something else happens when I write by hand. And it's a stream of consciousness. So that means not letting your pen or pencil stop moving, no editing yourself, no censoring. It's a great practice just to let it rip, because as women, we're so conditioned to be polite, to be good, to be pretty, to be quiet. We're trained to constrict, to keep it all in. So we need practices to support us in unlearning that censorship and that constriction. We need to train in just letting it spill out imperfectly. And morning pages is a really safe place for that unlearning, because no one's going to be reading this. Now, I would say the next step after that is a practice that Anne Lamott speaks about, and it's about having a shitty first draft. And thank goodness for the shitty first draft, because I would not have written any of my books without that. I would not have created anything without that. It's just really giving myself permission when I sit down on a blank page or a blank screen, that the first things that come out can just be total crap. And I know that when I just get it out, when I just let my fingers start moving over the keyboard, that it's just, the hardest part is just getting started. And once I do that, it's going to guide me. It's going to give me momentum. And I do much better with going back and editing. I love editing. To me, feels like an art form. And as long as I can just get the raw material out, then I have something that I can go back and edit. So giving ourselves permission to let the first iteration just be really bad. Because when it comes to our work, I know so many women who've been talking about doing the thing, writing the book, launching the website, creating an online course, even creating your business, or fill in the blank for whatever that is for you, and then they don't do it. It's been weeks, it's been months, it's been years, maybe it's been decades. And there's a constant tinkering with the messaging, with learning new skills or getting another certification, with implementing SEO, with waiting to get more clarity, with waiting until they feel ready. And all those things are great and maybe even necessary steps along the way, but they are not to be done at the expense of actually doing the core thing that will get you moving in the direction of your dreams in the first place. So here's where we need to take a page out of Silicon Valley's playbook about the prototype and ask ourselves, what's the minimal viable offer that you can bring to the public as quickly as possible to start gathering market research? And what is just kind of that shitty first draft that you can put out? And prototypes are by definition imperfect. They're unfinished. They still have a ways to go before they're fully developed. And people know that. This is what in online courses, this is what a beta course is for. This is what having a founding members launch is for. Their role is to get something simple out, to learn from that, to test it, to see if it is viable. This is how I've created my courses. It's through this process of just getting something super simple out there and building the plane as I fly it. And it's through this that we get important information. We see, how is this received? Is this helping people? In what way, what is it lacking? What more is needed? Then we go back into our creative labs. We make some tweaks and refinements, and we put it out again. We put out the next iteration of it. And we do this over and over and over again. So you can see that over time, what became a shitty first draft will become a polished, impeccable manuscript. This is how you craft an offer or craft a livelihood of true excellence. This is how you really hone your vision so that it sparkles, but you don't get there right away. You get there through the imperfect, messy steps, bit by bit by bit by bit, along the way. As a little girl, I loved playing school, and my favorite part was writing on a chalkboard with a fresh piece of white chalk. Today, my teacher's heart lives on, only now, instead of teaching with chalkboards, I make sure my online programs are stored and shared in the most organized, intuitive way possible. For the past few years, I've used Kajabi for this. It's heads and tails above any other online course platform that I've used since I first started teaching online back in 2008. Not only does Kajabi host all of my online programs, it also hosts all my program web pages and opt-in pages. It even hosts the private student-only podcasts I share inside my programs. Plus, it's easy for me and my team to use, and most importantly, it's easy for my students to use. I love it. If you're looking to uplevel, streamline, and beautify things in your own business, whether it's how you deliver your online courses, create web pages, or even host your entire website, I invite you to enjoy a free 30-day trial with Kajabi, which is one of the sponsors for this podcast. You can click the link in the show notes to get started with your free 30-day trial. If you're like me, you'll be so happy you did. The only downside is no chalk is involved. We can see that excellence doesn't come without numerous imperfect iterations and copious feedback. Feedback of all sorts. We need positive and negative feedback to really create something of excellence. So this doesn't come when you're sitting alone with your computer. It doesn't come in isolation. It doesn't come from just taking courses or listening to podcasts or reading books. You need to get out of your little insular, seemingly safe world and dare to put something out and get real-time feedback on it. And then be willing to stay in the game for months, years, decades, rinsing, repeating, refining. Now, inherent in this process, because this is just a microcosm for life, right? This is what life is about. There's going to be breakdowns, there will be failures, and there will be successes. But we can see breakdowns and failures are merely stops along the road to success. So really let your perfectionist hear this right now. The only way to craft a truly excellent product or service is to first let it be imperfect, very imperfect. Your perfectionist is trying to keep you safe from failure and negative feedback, but those are actually what's needed in order to do something great. And not getting your product or service to the market, I would say, is the biggest failure of all. Because not fulfilling your purpose for this precious life that you have is the biggest letdown that there is. Because that's why you're here. That's the whole point. So why not do everything in your power to make sure that you fulfill upon your unique soul's potential here, your unique function here that you were designed for, that you were born for. And get out there and fall and fumble, as I know you have done many times before, maybe not in this particular arena, but I know in many other arenas. And I know that you can look back and see, wow, I really learned from that. And I've become who I am today because of that. And I am proud of all of the failings that have led me to this moment. Because we learn a ton along the way. I can't even begin to tell you how many falls and fumbles and failures and breakdowns I've had. And you can definitely read about all my biggest ones in my books. I'm not keeping any secrets here. And one of the reasons for that, one of the big reasons for that is because I really want to validate how we all have these, how this is just part of the human journey. There's no escaping these, and how we need these if we really want to live lives of greatness. And it's my deep truth that I learned way more from all of those things than I have from any of my successes. All of those falls have helped me to refine myself, my work, and they've led to bigger successes, some that are external and many that are internal. So please, the best gift that you can give to yourself, to the people that you serve, and to our world is to Let it be imperfect. As the Nike slogan says so well, just do it. Whatever that thing is for you. No more excuses. No more, I'm too old. It's too late. I don't have enough time. I have this going on. I have that going on. No more waiting for the perfect time or for the right time, because there isn't one. The only time is right now. And this isn't about all or nothing. You either do it or you don't do it. It's about finding a way within the circumstances of your life as it is right now to take continual, imperfect, uncomfortable actions. Bit by bit by bit by bit. This is how we get there. And the more that you put it off, and I know that you know this, the harder it gets to even get started. And remember, getting started is the hardest part. So this is your permission slip to get started in a messy way, and to be a good steward of your gifts that you were born with and of all of your inner selves, all of your parts, by helping them to feel safe as you do this. Because yes, it does feel scary. Yes, it does bring anxiety and overwhelm. The more that we lean into what we are truly here to do, the more resistance we're going to feel to that. So let's just wake up to that truth, and let's fortify ourselves with the perspective and the skills to lean into it every day. So those parts of us that are scared, they need extra holding. They need our support and our reassurance as we make these bolder moves. So just like if you have a scared animal or a scared child with you, you want to do what you can to make them feel safe, even as you do the thing. So say that you have a child who's afraid of flying, and you know that there's going to be times in life when you're going to need to fly somewhere with this child, and when it's older, it's going to need to fly. So it's like, how can you just make that child feel safe as you get on the airplane, as the plane takes off, as you move through the flight? They need to know that you've got them. And no matter what happens, that you've got them, that you are not going anywhere. And that same is true for our inner selves, because they're just young, scared children. So let's just have them step away from the wheel. You stand in front of the wheel. You steer your life, and buckle up those little ones. Say whatever you need to say to them, whatever loving words they need to really feel safe and held by you as you steer, and move in the direction of your dreams, little bit by little bit. So I really invite you to bring this question into your heart, bring it into your journal with you, but don't let it just stay in your journal, remember? What is the one thing that feels too big, that feels scary, that feels impossible, that you don't know how to do? That one thing that's tugging at your heart that you know that you cannot do, that you can't not do, rather. The one thing that's tugging at your heart that you know you can't not do, because you know it is yours to do. You know what that is if you're honest with yourself. Listen deeply to that call. It's always emerging from our hearts. And take one imperfect step in its direction today, holding the hands of your scared little ones inside. And if you want more support in learning how to do this, how to expand your capacity as an inner leader to feel more safe, taking these bold steps, moving in the direction of your dreams, moving towards what may have felt or looked impossible before, I'm going to be breaking that process down inside this free workshop that's happening this week. So it's called the Burnout Cure, Discover the Secret to Real Self-Care for Female Entrepreneurs. To really make these bigger moves in our lives. And that doesn't mean it needs to necessarily be something really grand out in the world. We're all being communicated with from our deepest selves about what that is. What is that for you? And how do we really, truly take care of ourselves in the process so we can fulfill on that function that we are born for? This is important. There's nothing more important than this. And the world needs you. The world needs you fulfilling your function now more than ever. You can save your free seat at programs-sarahavansdover.com/workshop. Programs-sarahavansdover.com/workshop. Remember, just getting out there and letting it be messy is the most powerful thing you can do in service of yourself, your business, and our world. So get out there and make a mess and keep going. I'll see you next time. Thank you for joining me today. And remember, change doesn't come from listening alone. I invite you to commit to taking one small or large courageous action after today's conversation. One step you can take, if you haven't already, is to sign up for my Sunday journal. It's a weekly newsletter filled with inspiration and reflections about the intersection between spiritual entrepreneurship and fulfilling your potential to help you become the woman you truly are in every area of your life. You can subscribe at programs-sarahavansdover.com/journal. And if you found this podcast valuable, please share it with the women in your world. Also, I'd be very grateful if you'd leave a review. It helps others find resources like this, and I'd love to hear what's coming alive for you after listening today. Above all, keep going, and never forget the unique offerings you and your true self bring to the world. Until next time, I'm sending you my heartfelt support.